Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica with Memory Box Candle Co. and I make videos all about the journey of starting a candle business. And let's just rewind time a little bit. 3 years ago today, which is March 30th, 2023. So March 30th, 2020, I launched Memory Box Candle Co. for the first time. I had an Etsy shop and that is where I launched and first became open for business. So Memory Box Candle Co. turns 3 years old today, which is crazy with how fast time has gone, but also how much has changed. So it almost feels like it was a lot longer ago than just 3 years. It really feels like it was closer to 10 years ago, especially when I look back on the footage of during that time of when I launched and just kind of my thought process and really just being so, like in the super new stages of starting a business and just having no idea what was to come, and with all these different changes and everything that I've experienced. And I really just kind of wanted to compile a list of just a lot of my advice that I would give, just kind of my best business advice, you could say, at this point in business. And I even can admit that 3 years in business is still a baby. Like, I still understand that my business and what I know now is nothing compared to what I'm gonna know in another 3 years from now. So fully aware of that, but I really wanted to create today's video just kind of sharing with you a lot of just kind of general advice that I would give to anybody that is wanting to start a candle business. So my first piece of advice would be on the safety and performance of your product. Yes, I know I reiterate this a lot in my videos when I'm talking about testing, making sure you're testing, and all that kind of stuff with candles. So if you're wanting to start a candle business, make sure that you are taking your time with that beginning process, because if there's anything that I've learned, it's the fact that if you really take your time on a product that you are creating, especially when it's handmade like that, and it's so tedious, something like candles, to where there's so many different things that could cause a candle to perform poorly. But if you take your time and make sure that you are putting out your best work, the best kind of product that you can possibly make, it's going to speak for itself, and it's going to build a customer base, a loyal customer base that's going to keep coming back to your business. And that is what's going to eventually make your business gain that momentum and thrive so much more, versus you just putting out a product just to start a business and just to get started with selling. You have to make sure that you have done the safety checks on it, as well as the performance, making sure that it is a good performing candle, because again, it's going to speak for itself. Sometimes your products will sell itself, especially if it's somebody coming back to purchase a second, third, fourth, fifth plus time from your website. That's really going to be the basic foundation of your business. So it really starts with that beginning stage to make sure that you have the best product before you put it out onto the market. My second piece of business advice is make sure you're focusing on profit. Don't let that be an afterthought. Don't let that be something to where, you jump into making your candles, you're testing them, you get excited about creating the names, and you're focused on the scent names and your brand name and which website you're going to be using and all that kind of stuff. You have to, from the very beginning, I think before I even ordered a lot of supplies, and the guy had ordered some different testing supplies just to get started, because I really started out using the 9-ounce straight-sided jars, and I really like those. But once I found the jars that I'm using now from California Candle Supply, I switched over to using that. But before I really jumped into the whole thought of, website, creating a website and really turning it into a business, I sat down for hours in the research stage and really figured out if I was going to be able to make a good profit on my candles. You don't want to go through this whole process of getting started with a business, because as we all know, when it comes to business, we want to make money. So profit has to be a really big part of business. Otherwise, you're just not going to do very well. Do not let this be an afterthought for you. Don't let your fear of charging people for your handmade product, and that kind of self-doubt that you're going to have, which I am going to be talking about self-doubt a little bit later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. But don't let your self-doubt be the reason why you charge so little for your candles. Don't undervalue yourself because you're worried about what other people are going to say, or if they're going to kind of, scoff at your pricing or whatever it is. Obviously, you want to charge appropriately, but that charging appropriately starts with the basis of the research stage and figuring out, okay, is this going to work for you? Are these going to be items that you're going to be able to get at a reasonable price, and you're able to know your cost of goods, figure that out, and be able to charge according to what the market is willing to pay for, basically. And that, again, just comes with a lot of research. And it has to do a lot with how you market yourself, how you brand yourself, the way your candles look, and everything that kind of is packaged into your brand. But I don't want anybody that is wanting to get started in a candle business to sell themselves short because you're nervous about charging too much for your candles. Because at the end of the day, if you're wanting to start a business, yes, there are a lot of different things that are really fun about starting a business, but at the end of the day, you need to make money in your business if you want to keep going, and if you want to keep growing in your business. My next piece of advice is how important branding is for your company. Now, I am going to kind of piggyback off of what I was talking about before about profit and how you're able to kind of adjust your pricing based on the perceived value of your products and of your brand. And I did used to think in the very beginning that it was totally fine, especially when getting started, to just kind of, figure out a super simple label design, put it on there, get some, scents together just to get your candles out there and start selling. And for some people that are kind of natural born sellers, I mean, they can really sell anything to anybody. But if you're somebody like me who's not necessarily what you would call like a salesperson in a sense, you really do have to focus a lot on your branding. And branding is not just the labels. It's not just the way that your candles look. It's not just your, scent names or your brand name or the way that your candle looks. I mean, it's the whole kind of aesthetic of your brand altogether and how you package everything. So literally how you package everything, but also your website design, your website layout, the customer experience that they have on your website. There's so much that goes into branding, the story behind your brand, if you're building a community around the topic or the story of your brand. And I really do think that it is very, very important to focus a lot on that aspect of your business. And I know that that can be a very daunting task, especially if you've never done it before. But if you have a very cohesive brand that really works well together, and this could be something that you could work with kind of a branding expert if you have seriously no clue where to start. I do think that a really good place to start is with the look of your candles and the label design. I do think that a label can make or break a candle business with the way that it looks by either looking like it was from the 1990s home craft project or a candle that you would actually find inside of a store. So I think that there's a huge difference there. And I think that if you really focus on your branding from the beginning, that can really set you up for success with your business. Now, I will add at this part that you can have rebrands. You don't have to have everything put together and set up from the very beginning of opening your business. I definitely haven't. My brand was much different from the very beginning. The look of the labels were different. The way that my feed was on Instagram, completely different than the way that it is now. So I'm not saying that you have to have everything perfect from the beginning. Know that you can change things up and know that you can do rebrands at any time and change whatever you want about your business. But if you can take some time in the beginning to learn a little bit more about branding and a little bit more about what you want your brand to be about and how you want it to look, I think that that's a good starting point from the very beginning. My next piece of advice is to start small. There is nothing wrong with starting small, and in fact, I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend that you master knowing, understanding, and creating one product at a time before you start jumping into different products that you want to add to your website. This was definitely something that I kind of I didn't really get in over my head over, but I definitely was just kind of wanting to add in whatever I could onto my website. And this can work for a lot of people, but in my personal opinion, I think that if you start off smaller, you master the craft that you are learning. Let's say you have candles and then you want to add wax melts, and then you want to add room sprays, and then you want to add bath bombs, and you get into kind of like the body side of thing and perfumes and lotions, and then there's just so much going on. And if you try to rush too fast into that, you're going to end up with a ton of product, a ton of supplies, and are you going to know where to put all the supplies? Are you going to have everything organized? Are you going to be known for one thing or another, or a bunch of things in, the same kind of bath and body category? If that's something that you eventually want to get to, I think that's really, really good. But don't stress and overwhelm yourself in the very beginning that you're, just trying to grow and expand and put out all these new products thinking that that's going to get you a lot of sales, because I can promise you that just throwing a bunch of products out there and continuing to just add more and more is not necessarily going to get you more sales. It's better if you are focusing on, again, the quality of your product, and that quality will show a lot more in your work. And that is, again, another reason why we did decide to scale down with the amount of different varieties that we have on the website, and just keeping it super simple with what we offer, and just being really target focused on specific customers that like those specific products. So again, there's nothing wrong with adding more to your website or adding more to your shop, different kinds of products, but just know that with that comes the responsibility of learning, testing, knowing all of those, and getting all the different supplies, storing all of those. There's just a lot that comes with that. So just start off smaller. And I also recommend to do this with fragrance oil options as well. You guys know how I feel about that. I recommend that when you're getting started to launch with anywhere between 4 to 8 different fragrances. It's enough to where your audience and your customers will be able to choose a scent that they like, but it's not too much to where you're going to be left with, tons and tons of fragrance oil options that, might not sell, and you have all this leftover fragrance oil, or you're trying to keep track of everything and make all of these candles and all of these different scents. And then over time, you can add on more and more scents, or maybe even different sizes, different products, as soon as you get comfortable. Because of course, in the beginning of starting a business, there's so much more going on than just, the business itself in terms of the products that you're selling. So much stuff going on behind the scenes that you're trying to learn. So just take it a little bit slower in the beginning. Don't be afraid to get started off slower and, start off small in the beginning. My next tip is to be loud about your business. Now, I don't mean actually be loud or like scream at people or anything like that, but I mean, make sure that you are talking about your business, you're talking about your products, you're writing about it, you're blogging about it, you're texting about it, you're emailing about it, you're talking about it with people, whatever it is. Make sure that people know that you exist, because if you don't talk about it, if you just kind of put your website up and nobody knows to go to your URL, then nobody is going to know to go to your URL. So you have to make sure that people actually are aware of your business and make yourself known as much as you can. And this is definitely something that I think that a lot of newer businesses struggle with, especially in the day and age of like Etsy and stuff like that, thinking that, you're just going to put your products out there and then everybody is going to be able to find you because it's a marketplace and people are going to be able to find you, which can happen, but you do need to be active on the marketing side of getting people to know and learn your business and know that you exist, because if you don't talk about it, if you don't tell people that you are a business, that you have these products to sell, then nobody is ever going to know about you. So definitely make sure that when you launch, you are talking to people about it. I even recommend that before you actually launch, that you are documenting, you are posting, you are uploading all about the process of your products and your items, and just letting people know that it's coming soon, and get people excited and build that community ahead of time. Okay, I have 2 more for you to share in today's video, and this one is about taking responsibility. So I really do think that every single business owner, no matter how small you are, you should take responsibility for everything that happens within your business. Anything that happens, it's your fault, both good and bad. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing. And as well as anything that happens during the transaction process with your customers. Customer service is huge in business. I can't even stress this enough. I know people have their own opinions about this, and I totally understand that. But in my personal opinion, a refund or a free product or whatever it is goes a long way with having customers leave the interaction with you and your company being something that's very positive. And that is definitely something that I want to stress. When you are a business owner, you have to treat your customers the way that you would want to be treated if the situation was reversed. For instance, even in situations where, let's say, a customer never got their package, even though it says delivered. And I understand why people will immediately go to, well, they're lying, they're just trying to get a free product. And to be completely honest, I say that that is still your responsibility to make sure that the customer either gets their money back or they get their product. Again, a refund or a free product is going to make a world of difference on whether or not that customer is going to want to keep purchasing from you, or whether or not they are going to spread negativity about your brand or positivity about your brand. And this is very few and far between with customers, to where it's not going to hurt your business to be able to take responsibility in situations where, even if you're going to be at a loss, it's just kind of the cost of doing business. It is what it is. And you have to kind of take the emotional side, that emotional side out of situations. And trust me, I have been there, where you kind of feel a little, not attacked, but you're so connected to your product, that when there's a problem or something comes up, that you can kind of immediately jump to being defensive. And that is not something that you should be doing as a business owner. It's really just about evaluating the situation, listening to the customer, taking responsibility, and resolving it appropriately. And if I could give any advice in this video, I mean, obviously I've given, all these tips, and I really, really do think that all of these would be very helpful to anybody getting started in business. But definitely taking responsibility when you step into that role of business owner is a very, very huge part of being a business owner. And then the very last piece of advice that I wanted to share in today's video is that I want you to know that self-doubt is not only normal, but it may be inevitable. It is something that happens to most people. It happens to me. It's the imposter syndrome. It's the, I don't know if I'm actually able to do this. It's the, is this even for me? Is running a business for me? Trust me, I've had every thought in the book that you could possibly think of. And it really is just a matter of getting over that, getting over those obstacles, getting through any kind of self-doubt that you have, and just kind of persevering through that, because sometimes we can be our own worst critic when it comes to starting anything, and we could be the reason why we're not starting, because we're so afraid of the fact that we may not do well, or what if we fail, or what if nobody buys from us, or whatever it is. There's so much that goes into that. So just know that all of that is completely normal. And if you're thinking to yourself, wow, if I even have a doubt of starting this business, then obviously that, it's not right for me. That's not true at all. So many people go through that. Even the people that you think are have it all together, don't actually have it all together. They're just kind of figuring out as they go. That's what I've been doing for the past 3 years. I feel like there's so much more. I feel like even as I started talking about that, I'm like, man, I didn't talk about motivation and how that comes and goes. I didn't talk about overcoming obstacles and problem solving and all that kind of stuff that comes with being an entrepreneur. So I feel like I could totally make a part 2 to this video. But I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned something. I hope it motivated you in some way of thinking about running a business, maybe in a different way, especially if you are just getting started with your business or if you're thinking about starting a business as well. But with that, I think I'm going to end today's video right here. Thank you for all of your love, support, comments, purchases, shares, everything over the past 3 years. I really just am so appreciative of every single one of you that has supported me, and especially those of you that have been here since the very beginning. I feel like there's still people that tell me that they've been here since the eBay days, which is like the real OG, which is crazy. But I appreciate you very much. With that, I'm going to end today's video right here. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave it a big thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram at Memorybox Candle Co. And I will see you in my next video. Okay. Yes. He just wants to see me.
And then I'll take him out.
Hi. Oh.
He has to see you.
He just has to come in and see me.
Yeah.
Hello.
You look very beautiful.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Thank you.
Thank you.